Hi everyone, this is Mary. You're in Mary Reads. Welcome back to my channel. In one of the comments, somebody asked what my favorite books are, and they said that if you don't have this video yet, and I couldn't find it, so I guess you don't. You should make a video about your favorite books. And I was like, it's impossible that I haven't talked about my favorite books ever. I've had this channel for like a year and a half. I must have. And so I went through my videos, I rewatched a couple of them, and it turned out that I actually don't have a video about my favorite books of all time. So I sat down and I started writing a list. The problem with writing the list was that I don't remember all the books that I've read. Because, like, if you tell me the name of the book, I will be able to, oh, I've read that a while ago, but I've read that. But just in my head, I didn't have a list of the books that I was reading. I only started writing them down fairly recently, like 2 years ago. So I don't remember every single book I've read. And I was like, how on earth will I be able to write the list? So I came up with 9 books. Some are my favorite from my childhood, some are more recent, but I will not be surprised if in a couple years I will remember a couple other books that I've read and I will realize that those were amazing as well, and I will refilm this video adding some books that I forgot about when getting ready for this video now. Let's begin with the books that I loved as a kid, and the first one is Pollyanna by Eleanor Porter. This is a story about a girl, Pollyanna, and she has such a weird name because she was named after her aunt Polly, and I think her mom, if I'm not mistaken, whose name was Anna. So she's Pollyanna. And she was raised by her father because her mom died when she was very, very young. And her father was a priest, I think. And they lived very poorly. But her father told her that, listen, this is a game that we're gonna play. No matter how bad our situation is, we are going to find something good in it so that we stay positive. And it was like, oh, we don't have dinner tonight, but it would be even worse if we had a very young child, like a newborn, who we would have to feed as well. So how lucky are we that we don't have a newborn? So stuff like that. And this is how she learned to live. And then when she was around like 10 or 11, I think, her father passes away. And she is sent to her aunt, Polly, who is very strict. She disapproved of her sister's marriage to this pastor because she was like, obviously, you're gonna live very poorly. What were you thinking? And she doesn't like Pollyanna a lot. But she, with her kindness and with her positive mindset, changes lives of her Aunt Polly, of people in the town she now lives in. And it was a little bit weird in the sense that with the way she played this game, there was a scene, I still remember, when a lady broke her leg and she couldn't walk for, I don't know, like 3 weeks, a month. She had to be in bed all the time. And Pollyanna came in and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry about your leg, but isn't it lucky that you didn't break 2 legs? Isn't it lucky that it's only 1? And the lady was like, what are you talking about? It's horrible that I'm confined to bed. Like, I hate this situation. And so people were angry with her because, and I can see why, it's a little bit weird. Oh, isn't it lucky that you didn't break 2 legs? Oh, isn't it lucky that you, I don't know, didn't break also your arms? It's a little bit weird, but still people come around, they start liking her and understanding what she means by this game. So it was a very positive story, and I still remember when I was in like 5th grade, for our literature class, it was a spring break, so we had a week at home, and our teacher told us, you have to read 1 classic book and then come back and tell me about it. I think I read 2, and I didn't know which one I want to talk about, Pollyanna or this other one, and I don't even remember what this other one was. But I brought 2 books to school because I decided that I'll figure out what to talk about. In case somebody talks about one book that I brought, I'll talk about the other. So I come to school with 2 books, and 2 lessons before our literature class, my friend comes to me and says, "Did you read a book for this class?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I actually read 2." She was like, "Oh, perfect. Can you give me one? I haven't read anything and I will be asked, so I need to tell something," because the teacher asked every student. And I was like, "Sure, I can give you Pollyanna." And I was like, wow, my friend has like 2 45-minute lessons and 2 15-minute breaks to read this book, and then she will tell about it, and it's such a challenge, it's so fun, and Pollyanna is such a great book. And I was like, you should read faster, like, okay, let's go, you have 180 pages of Pollyanna, you should read. And she read like 30 pages, and she was like, okay, you know what, I'm not interested in actually reading it. Can you just tell me what it's about so I can give enough details to our teacher and then just, let it go? And that was the moment when I was like, oh, wait a second. What do you mean? Not everybody enjoys reading. Not everybody enjoys this challenge of reading super fast just to be on time for a certain thing. And I was so upset because I loved this book so much, and I thought that I'm going to give it to somebody and they're going to experience it as well. But now I obviously understand that I was just nagging her, like, you have to read this book right now. You need it, and then also I will be satisfied and super excited if you read it. So I was just a very annoying kid, apparently. But that was a funny story that I still remember. The second book that I absolutely adored, I read it multiple times, is A Little Princess by Frances Burnett. This is a story about a young girl, Sarah, who she lives with her father, and he's a very rich gentleman. She lived in India with him, so a bunch of English families went to India to do business. There was a saying that it's not very healthy for English children, to live in an Indian climate where they don't know this climate yet. Their bodies are not supposed to know how to live in this climate because they are Englishmen, like it's a very big change, and their immune system is not strong enough, their bodies are not strong enough. So parents used to send kids to boarding schools in England. And this is what this father decides to do. She also grew up without a mom. So the father stayed in India, and she was sent to a boarding school in London. And the father was a very rich gentleman. He had money from something, I think it was like gold mining or stuff like that. And so she had her own pony, she had her own room, she had these crazy birthday parties, she had all the wonderful dresses, and the headmistress in the school hated the girl. She was jealous of her, but she couldn't show that because her dad was paying good money to keep her in this school. And the girl wasn't spoiled at all. She was very kind. She realized, she could feel that the headmistress doesn't like her. And she was just this very nice, very quiet, very kind kid who just happened to have a rich father. And after one of her birthday parties, when she turned 10 or 11 also, I think, so all of my childhood favorite stories are about girls who were 10 or 11. And she just celebrated her birthday party, and the headmistress finds out that her father got sick and died. And what's more, he lost all of his money. He invested into diamond mining that his friend did, but they lost the money and he passed away, and now Sarah doesn't have anything. So she moves Sarah to this super small room in the attic. She starves her. She's being very rude to her. She makes her work, and she's hoping to one day in the future make her an underpaid teacher so she can obviously use her. And people start seeing how the headmistress talks to Sarah, how she treats her, and they start treating her the same way. So they're very mean to her. They say bad things about her, but she stays very, very kind, and she uses her imagination to make her life much, much better. And then this English gentleman comes to London. And let me just tell with spoilers, because I think that, well, it's a children's book. I think it's okay if I use some spoilers. But if you don't want to hear them, you can move to the next book. I will leave the times below under this video, so you can skip this book and go to the next one if you don't want to have any spoilers. But basically, this man comes from India to live in England, and he has a servant. And so the servant has, I don't know, either he's Indian or he's from Africa somewhere, or he's also an Englishman, but he lived in those countries. I don't remember at this point. But he has a pet monkey, and he's this young man. And one day his pet monkey runs away, and it runs into Sarah's room. And so Sarah takes care of the monkey, and then this man finds out that the monkey's there, and he gets to her place. He sees how she lives. He doesn't know her name, and he's just very, very sad to see how this little girl lives. He takes the monkey, and he tells this English gentleman about this girl. And the English gentleman feels very bad for the girl. He becomes a magician for her. So he sends her books, he sends her food, he sends her small gifts. And then after some time, he realizes that she's the daughter of one of her friends who once invested into diamond mines with him. And Sarah finds out that this is her father's friend who her father did diamond mining with. And it turns out that this English gentleman got sick at the same time when Sarah's father did. And he completely stopped doing the diamond mining, and he lost some of the money. But then he recovered, and he found out that actually the place where they were digging turned out to be amazing for diamond mining, and he now has all the money in the world. And he went to tell Sarah's father, but he found out that Sarah's father passed away. And so he went on this adventure to find Sarah, and by accident he found her, and now Sarah is an heiress of an amazing, like crazy inheritance. And Sarah becomes rich again. And of course, the headmistress tries to show that, yeah, I changed my mind. I was so wrong about doing this to Sarah. Please stay in the school. Please give us your money again. But Sarah says no, and she starts living with this English gentleman who becomes her like foster father. I just thought this story was wonderful. It's a little too naive for me now, but I think I would still enjoy reading it even if I got the book today. And also, funny story, after I read this book, I was like, I don't remember, 10, maybe 11, probably like somewhere between 9 and 11. And I read this book and I was like, I'm gonna call my daughter Sarah. If I have a daughter, I will call her Sarah. And now I realize that I don't even like this name that much. I have names that I like more. I'm sorry to all the Sarahs if I'm being mean right now. It's not my favorite name. I don't even know why I thought I was so mesmerized by that girl. I thought she was so wonderful that I wanted to call my daughter Sarah. Now let's move to more adult books. Though, yeah, okay, this is my love in my childhood, in my adulthood, Harry Potter. I have to mention it. J.K. Rowling, an amazing author, did an amazing job. I've read the series 3 times. The last time was, I think, the Christmas before last, like, what was it, 2022 into 2023? Or no, or yes, whatever. Maybe 2023 into 2024. Yeah, I think so, 2023 into 2024. So Every time I read the series, I find something new. When I was a kid, I was reading it as a fairy tale. When I was in school in 10th grade was the second time I read it, I started seeing more details. I started understanding characters a little bit more. Now when I read it at 23, I realized that this is such a good story. The fifth book has an amazing political plot going on. How the government is using propaganda to try to lie to us, or how the government is closing its eyes to certain problems that people see and they know that exist, but the government is just trying to close their eyes on that. The second book, Chamber of Secrets, is very much dark academia. You have a student who dies mysteriously in this school. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody could figure out what happened. How is that not dark academia? The last book, the seventh, Deathly Hallows, this battle between good and evil, you see this, literally a book about war, and you can see how even good people who fight for good, they die, which is so unfair, but this is how it happens when it's a war. You don't have fair and unfair here. It just happens. It's devastating. It's horrible. It's crushing. So every single book 6 that I absolutely hated before, but such a great book, shows us how Voldemort became who he is, how the evil in him developed, what happened, how his parents were, and what made him the way he is. So just so much to uncover, so many different topics discussed. I haven't even realized that Harry Potter is about so much. So also one of my all-time favorites. Can't wait to read it to my kids, can't wait to watch movies with my kids, and can't wait to reread this series in a couple years and notice something new in these books. Now, Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Read the book twice, once in Russian in school, once in English a couple years ago. Absolutely loved it both times. I haven't seen, and this is why I mostly like this book, I haven't seen anything structured that way before. The story is in a story, in a story, in a story. So the first story is starting in like 18 something with a man who is traveling on a ship. He has diaries. He's writing diaries. The second story, we have a musician who comes to this composer's house and he finds the diaries of that man and he starts reading them. The next story, this lady talks to a man who knew the composer from the previous story. And this lady is a journalist. She uncovers some story. The story after that, we have a man who is an editor and he gets a script of a book about this lady who is a journalist who is uncovering some story. So it's a story in a story in a story. And I haven't seen anything like that before, so I absolutely loved it. I haven't read anything else by David Mitchell. I wanted to. I even got the book, but it was a library book. I never got to reading it. I had it for like 6 months and then somebody else put it on hold, so I had to return it. But Cloud Atlas is one of my all-time favorites and I will be reading it again. My husband bought it. He randomly saw it in a bookstore. We weren't married yet. We were just dating and we went on our first vacation together and we got to a bookstore and he's like, oh, I decided to get this book. It kind of looks interesting. And I looked at it. It was Cloud Atlas and I was like, oh my God, you have to read this. You absolutely have to read this book. I loved it. It's amazing. And he read it like a year or two after he bought it. And he also liked it a lot. I know there is a movie. I watched a movie as well, but I didn't like it as much as a book. I feel like the book does a great job of showing this structure, a story in a story in a story. I think the movie didn't do it that well. But I know that some people like the movie much more than the book, so I this is just my opinion. I guess maybe if you watch the movie before reading a book, you will find the movie better, and then if you read the book first and then you watch a movie, you think the book is better. I don't know. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I still remember I was reading it during summer break, and it was, I don't remember how old I was, like 12, 13 probably. And we were somewhere, I think we went to Turkey, so I was reading it. It was very hot during the day, so we would stay in the room and I would take the book and read it, and I just devoured it in like 2 or 3 days. I absolutely adored the story. I thought it was wonderful. Of course, I was hoping that I'm like Elizabeth Bennet. I also like reading, and I'm also, I also had a good temper, and I was this fairly nice child. So I was like, of course I'm Elizabeth Bennet. And Mr. Darcy was so charming. Oh my God. I love the story so much. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about, just because I think everybody knows. There were so many movie adaptations. The book has been there for so many times. My father-in-law adores the 2005 movie. He can tell you any line, and not every time, but very often when we come and it's late in the evening and my husband and I are reading and my mother-in-law went to bed, we can hear the music from the movie because he's rewatching it. I want to watch the mini-series with Colin Firth because my parents love that version much more than 2005 version with Keira Knightley. But I loved the 2005 version. I loved Matthew Macfadyen, who played Mr. Darcy, and that's why I absolutely adored the 2005 movie. At 12 years old, I fell in love with him, and I thought that that's it. One day I'm going to marry him. First, I thought that Daniel Radcliffe will come to Moscow and meet me on the train and we'll fall in love. Then a couple years later, I thought that Matthew Macfadyen, who played Mr. Darcy, will do the same. So yeah, just a wonderful story. Like we all know, Jane Austen, very fun, very light, with a good ending, which I absolutely love. Just a wonderful book. The Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. Nothing mysterious here. Before I took this book, I thought, oh my God, The Dead Souls, something mysterious. But no, this is a story about a 30-something man. And just for a little bit of context, how 17th, 18th century Russia worked was that 19th, was that there was a, let's say there is a village, and there is a rich person, rich family. They own the village, they own the fields, and then there are regular people like the working class who would work on those fields. They would kind of belong to this rich person. They would be paid, kind of. I don't know if it was money, but it was definitely food, like the food that they got from the fields. They could eat it as well, because it was important for the rich person to take care of his, well, let's call them servants, because obviously if all of them die, then he loses money because the fields are not taken care of. So this is how those people in Russia lived. But let's get back to this little man. So he wants to buy a village, but he doesn't really have a reason to buy it. He doesn't have a lot of people to kind of work the land. So what he decides to do is buy dead souls. So go through those different rich people and buy the souls of those workers, servants who already died. So those people are not going to lose anything because those servants are not working anymore. And he will get the souls, the little man will get the souls for cheap. And he will have a right to buy more land. So this is what he does. He travels through Russia. He goes to different people and he buys souls from them. and you see how different these people are. One is very stingy and greedy, even though he has everything he wants. One old lady is super suspicious. She's like, I think something is going to be wrong. I'm worried that everybody will start coming, buying dead souls from me. Maybe that's a new trend, and I will have given them to you for very cheap. Another one is like drunken, gambling man with whom it's impossible to have any sort of deal. And it's just a very, very funny story. And what I also loved is the depiction of food. It's so well written. You shouldn't read this book if you're hungry, just because everything is so tasty, so juicy. Absolutely wonderful. So if you haven't read this book, and if you're interested in Russian classics, try that. Try Gogol. He's a weird author because people have very polarizing opinions. Some people really don't like him, some people adore him. I love The Dead Souls, but then another book by Gogol I couldn't stand. I couldn't even finish it. So it's very tricky. I don't know who exactly to recommend it, but if you want to read something satirical, something fun, with great depictions of food, that's the book I would recommend. The next book is Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, and I read this book a couple years ago. 2, maybe three probably years ago, and I loved it. Surprisingly, Tolstoy hated this book of his, and he was like, this is my worst novel, but I absolutely loved it. It's wonderful. You can see where Tolstoy approves of certain actions and where he doesn't. There is this character, Levin, and he is literally Tolstoy himself. The way he lives, the way he thinks, what his morals are, that's Tolstoy speaking in him. And then as an opposite to Levin, you have another family and another couple, Karenina, with her love interest. And obviously he shows how wrong she is, how bad the things she's doing are. And I want to read this book again, and then I think there is a book with all the explanations that kind of analyzes Anna Karenina and gives you the insight, because something gets lost. It was written over 100 years ago, so obviously some cultural differences came in, and then some stuff was lost, some symbolism was lost, and I would really love to get deeper into that novel and learn more about it. And then if you're interested, maybe after I read the analysis and after I reread the novel, I could make a big video about Anna Karenina. Sister Carrie by Theodore Dreiser, just gonna throw in there, not gonna pause on that. Wonderful book, we'll be rereading it soon. So if you haven't watched any of my videos where I talk about Sister Carrie and you want to know more about it, I will be reading it soon. I will be definitely reading it this year, most likely next month. So if you want to hear more about it, please stay, and I will be talking about it soon. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, also have read this book fairly recently, a couple years ago, and even though it was such a short book, I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was so sad in the end. It was so unfair. It was painful. Absolutely adored the book. I don't even know what to say about it. So this is a story, and I think again everybody knows what it's about. This is a story about a young scientist, Frankenstein, who is trying to create a man, and he combines parts of dead people's bodies to make this new man, whatever it is. And he succeeds, and this creature becomes alive, but obviously he is terrifying. He is scary looking. He doesn't have any manners. He doesn't know anything. And Frankenstein himself gets terrified of this monster that he created, and he says, "Be gone. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You are horrible. I will never create anybody like you again." But the monster sees him as almost his father. And after Frankenstein leaves, this creature tries living on his own, and he's trying to find some sort of connection with people, but everybody's terrified of him. They don't want this connection. They scream, they call him names, and so he runs into the woods and lives there. And then he finds Frankenstein and he says, okay, I'm lonely. Can you create a woman for me? And we will live quietly ever after. We're not going to come to you. You are not going to see us again. And Frankenstein agrees at first, but then he says, I will not create something as horrible as you are again. And this is when the creature becomes very mad. He's like, you created me, you did this to me, you're basically my father, and now you're doing this. What do you want me to do? How do you want me to live? And this is when the creature becomes violent, and he starts following Frankenstein and terrifying him and his family, and it gets quite violent there. But in the end, it's just very sad. The last couple pages I was reading, it was just very, very sad. And I think you'll understand what I mean when you read the book. And if you've read the book, you know which scenes I'm talking about. It's just this final scene after Frankenstein dies. And yeah, I just thought that it was wonderfully done. It was such an amazing story. A lot to think about. So yeah, if you haven't read it yet, please do. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. And finally, also the book that I already feel like I'm an ambassador of. It's Little Life by Hanya Nagihara. Just a wonderful story. This is a book about four male friends who are trying to get their lives together and become somebody in New York. One of them is an architect, the second one is an artist, the third one is a lawyer, and the fourth one is an actor. And we see them through their lives, starting from their college years and into their adulthood. And our main character will be Jude, who is a lawyer. His life was extremely painful, extremely terrifying. We don't know what happened to him, but slowly we will start getting to know his backstory, and that's absolutely devastating. If you can't if you don't like reading about psychological and physical abuse, that's probably not a book for you, just because it's very bad there. But if you're okay with that, then I would really highly recommend the story. It's very sad. I remember I lended it to my friend, and she told me after she finished the book, she gave it back to me, and she was like, you know what? After I finished this book, I went to the bathroom, and she was leaving on campus, so she had roommates, and she was like, I went to the bathroom, I turned the water on so that nobody could hear me, and I cried. I cried and I cried and I cried for a very long time. And I can absolutely see why she did. I rarely cry when I read books in general, but this is when I was very close to crying, and this was just a wonderful book. I have just remembered another book that I absolutely adored. So let me tell you very quickly about that one, and then I will be done. The Green Mile by Stephen King. That's the book where I did cry. So painful. It's about the prison guards who work in the section of prison where men and women who are going to be electrocuted send. So they only take care of the prisoners who are going to be electrocuted later. And there is this line that they have to go through to the electric chair, which was laid with a green carpet, and they call it a Green Mile. And this is just such a sad story, absolutely sad. I haven't watched the movie. I don't want to. I don't. I know what's going to happen to me, and I don't want to. But this is such a wonderful book. Compared to, I haven't read a lot of Stephen King, but compared to what we think of Stephen King when we say his name, this is very different. This is a psychological drama. I think this is a wonderful book to read if you want to see a different Stephen King, not the king of horror, but as an author of amazing psychological dramas. These were all the books for today. Please let me know what your favorite books of all time are. And thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.